And now it's time for the 2022 Knocker Awards. Your hosts. Two guys I would not want to see in a bra and panties match, am I right? Please welcome JC and Nestlemania.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year again, the end of the year. It's the 2022 Knocker Awards. JC, are you pumped and jacked or what?
This is my favorite show of the year. We both are pretty open about that. This show's a lot of fun. We get to look back at the highs, the lows, and everything in between in all of the wrestling world. We got a lot of fun categories as always, so I'm super excited to get into this.
JC, as always, we have the wonderful Michael P. Downing lending his golden pipes for the Golden Knocker. So, Michael, please hit us with our first category of the shine.
Super Hot Fire Moment of the Year. Bray Wyatt returns at Extreme Rules. Cody Rhodes returns to WWE at WrestleMania. Liv Morgan wins Money in the Bank and cashes in the same night on Ronda Rousey to become SmackDown Women's Champion. Sami Zayn sacrifices KO to the Bloodline at War Games.
Pew, 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 pew. Oh, man. I just blew my load big one on that one. But Nestlemania, this is the JC category of all JC categories. The Super Hot Fire Moment of the Year. Like you just heard, some great nominees this year from Michael P. Downing. This is probably, I think, one of the better years in wrestling that I think we've had in a while in terms of moments and stuff. But some of these kind of stood out above the rest. I mean, if you guys know me, like a lot of you listeners do, you know what my winner's going to be. This one, it's kind of like a no contest for me, but that doesn't mean the other moments in here weren't incredible in their own right. But spoiler alert, JC's Super Hot Fire Moment of the Year for 2022 was Cody Rhodes' return at WrestleMania. It was a moment that you encapsulated on camera, and you got to see my pure emotion, my happiness, my joy, which that's what wrestling is about. You know, I don't get those moments often, but I really felt that one. And that is an all-time moment for me. So for me, this was an extremely easy one for me to give it to Cody Rhodes' return.
So look, there's four of them, right? You whittled it down to four. When I look at this list, I think, okay, the Sami Zayn moment was cool for storytelling, right? But for me, it's not the bigger overarching thing. Now, next year, if they turn on Sami, boom, moment of the year. Liv Morgan was a great moment, but it wasn't something that we didn't see coming once she cashed. You know what I mean? So it's like she did it that night. I negate that one. So I whittle it down to Cody and to, Bray Wyatt. And although Cody Rhodes kind of is a bigger deal, in my opinion, than Bray Wyatt at this juncture, I'm going to give my Golden Knocker to Bray Wyatt, and here's why. Bray Wyatt, we were anticipating. There were hints. It could be him. It couldn't be him. Cody Rhodes, as he said in the interview when he came back at WrestleMania, said this is the worst kept secret in wrestling. Obviously, it was a big night for him. But again, I think the upside of Bray Wyatt, for me, I've always been Detective Nestle, so I was so excited to see him come back and have that long, amazing entrance and the whole thing right back in our arms. So I'm giving my Golden Knocker to the return of the one and only Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, you've really enjoyed all the matches he's had since he's returned too, right?
Hey, if the man can get paid for cutting promos, I'd take that schedule too.
I will say this. We let the staff vote just because we kind of want to see how out of bounds we are. Every single person voted for Cody as the moment of the year, except for one person. We know who it was, knows who it was. Detective Dipshit over here. This one wasn't even, honestly, I would have put Bray Wyatt third on my list. I love Bray Wyatt. It was an amazing moment, but I would have put Liv above it because Liv's fucking amazing. It was a great moment. Here's the thing. It's Cody is up like in the sky.
No.
Liv is kind of like, I can jump and touch it. Bray Wyatt, I don't have to jump at all. And the Sammy Bloodline thing, like you said, it was cool, but like, it's not even, that was the ultimate, like, I'm looking at the category and be like, we had to put a fourth one in here. So, that's how it is. But you know what? My knocker's way bigger than yours. It's way better than yours. Cody Rhodes' return. Super Hot Fire, moment of the year. Michael P. Downing. Hit me with the next one.
Best Story. CM Punk and MJF. Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Seth Rollins Rhodes to WrestleMania. Wardlow breaking away from MJF.
Best Story. This category is also another one of my favorites because if you guys listen to this podcast, you know myself as well as Nestle, a big reason why we watch wrestling is for the stories. And I almost myself prefer a great story as opposed to like a great one-off match or whatever, because I think a story really changes a match. So if we hear these nominees, you just heard Mr. Downing read so eloquently, is that we've had some really good ones this year. And this list was kind of hard to narrow down. 3 of the 4 actually were happened pretty in the first half of the year. So I hope we can kind of jog your memory and bring back some cool memories for you guys. But the most recent one, obviously, being Sami Zayn and the Bloodline, most forefront in our minds. Probably the one that I think a lot of people would pick. It might be the one I pick. I haven't completely narrowed it down yet, but I thought you see 2 WWE in here, you see 2 AEW in here, so you see both companies kind of like, I thought, raised the bar this year with kind of like their upper echelon storytelling. You know, maybe like the back end stuff wasn't as good, but I thought the top tier stuff in Nestlemania was good this year.
I tend to agree with you. I think that there is a silver lining here. When you look at these categories, MJF's in both of the AEW ones, and you know, I think MJF deserves, even if he doesn't win, he deserves mention here because I think he gravitates towards the best stories in AEW. Absolutely. And I think that no one else can debate that. I mean, he's just better at storytelling than everybody else. In terms of the best story for me, I look at it like this. Seth Rollins' roads to WrestleMania, I like it, right? Like, I love that idea. To me, this is 4th on the list for me. Ooh. Because it felt like he was forgotten and he had the whole thing. All he had to do was ask, and then he sat there and he had the great match and they had this whole thing. And again, it was a great match, a great moment. But again, you gave your moment of the year to this. So I would say negate it to 4th. For me, I would then probably put Wardlow breaking away from MJF. As great as it was, I felt like it could have been bigger and better, and it was kind of hot-shotted at a certain point for me, if I remember correctly. It just didn't come the way that I wanted because I think it was like that whole, did MJF leave? Was he on a jet? You know, that whole thing. Like, I felt like that kind of overshadowed the idea of Wardlow's big moment, in my opinion.
That is fair.
So I will then kind of bend the knee here. It's either CM Punk and MJF or it's the Bloodline and Sami Zayn. So I have to jog my own memory in my mind because the Bloodline is so forefront, as you said. MJF versus, CM Punk was a lot of fun. It was, because I think even we talked about it when they say, that moment of like, is Max the babyface? Or, like, do we know what's going on here? And that was very intriguing stuff. However, I am going to give my golden knocker to Sami Zayn and the Bloodline based solely on longevity. And that's why I'm giving them my golden knocker, because you cannot debate that Sami Zayn has been a shot in the arm for the good old Bloodline. I mean, Sequoia has too, but, that's beside the point. I say, you can't touch the Bloodline, and you certainly cannot touch Sami Zayn for all he's done this year in 2022. So he's getting my golden knocker, as well as the Bloodline, because we, the ones.
Nestlemania, they're not the ones in this category. They might also be the 2s because they're getting 2 golden knockers. That's my pick as well. I kind of tried to build it up there at the beginning, but this was another one that was pretty easy for me to pick. Even though it is the most recent and the most forefront in my mind, still, like you said, this is something they were building for a while. And like the payoffs we've gotten week after week with it have been so good. And the Bloodline needed something. They needed an injection. And they got it. They got it in Sami. And they more than just got it, because you could tell what has happened wasn't the plan. They just ran with it. And I think that's what really makes a great story is, yeah, you have stuff all mapped out, but you have to be ready to take a detour or maybe completely change your destination based off how things are received, how things work when you start to write it. It's like anyone who's ever written something. You start to write something, you have a goal. It might completely change by the end of page 2, or it might take 70 pages to do it. But either way, I thought this story has been beautiful. It's still ongoing, which is kind of crazy. The fact that it's been so dominant for 2022, but it also could be very dominant in 2023. The other 3, honestly, I think are all very close. I'd probably have the Seth and the CM Punk MJF feuds is probably like 2A and 2B, because I think they're pretty comparable. The Wardlow one, like you said, the way it kind of like ended did kind of sour it a little bit, because that one really had the potential to be great and really put Wardlow where he needed to be. And Wardlow's great. He's going to be fine. But the way that ended, it was just the way the Max stuff all played out did kind of sour it a bit. But Nestlemania, we're on the same page this one, because we the ones with the Bloodline. Michael? What else you got for us?
Rivalry of the year. Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. CM Punk versus MJF. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Gunther versus Sheamus.
Nestlemania. Could we be considered rivals sometimes, the way we go back and forth?
Sometimes. sometimes I've never met anybody that likes me least than you.
Well,
You
here's the
hate.
thing with rivals. There is definitely some hatred, but I think part of a rivalry is it's also like a mutual respect, even
So
if you don't
respect
show it.
me? Are you
No,
saying you
that's not what I'm
respect me?
saying. I
Oh,
hate you
okay.
so much that I have to respect you because you're getting so much of my energy of hate that clearly I'm feeling something for you. That's kind of what makes a good rivalry. And this year, there were tons of them in 2022. Again, it goes back to the last category with storytelling. When you tell good stories, that means you have good rivalries. And this category is stocked with them. This is honestly probably one of the tougher ones to me to pick because I think you can make a great case for any of the four. Gunther Sheamus, I'd probably put fourth though, because it was probably the shortest, but it did have some high highs, and these guys might, get a little action later in the show. But the Cody Seth rivalry was a historic one. The CM Punk MJF, we referenced it in the last category, also a historic one. And Becky and Bianca had the hell of a rivalry this year too, which kind of turned into like a mutual respect by the end, which some rivalries can. So Nestlemania, we got our work cut out for us in this one, but I think I'm leaning Cody Seth or CM Punk MJF. Can you convince me either way?
Sure, I'd love to. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna agree with you on the Gunther and Sheamus thing because it's like you said, longevity, right? Rivalry for me is how long can you go? So again, great rivalry where it was, but I think we need more, right? I am gonna go off the board here for 1 second and make a comment, which is I think CM Punk / MJF shouldn't be even a rivalry because here's my thought process on the entire thing. This would be rivalry of the year had CM Punk not CM Punk'd himself.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. CM Punk losing to Maxwell Jacob Friedman for the championship would have chef kiss this rivalry of the year. No way. But the fact that he fucked it up, threw all the plans out the goddamn window with the bath and the baby water, fucked Max over essentially, had to wait 3 months to see what was going to happen. And then, of course, we're back to, Moxley pulling fucking rank, and it's fine. So for me, I look at that segment and I say, fuck you, CM Punk, you ruined a great rivalry. That's what I look at. So I wanted to get off that real quickly. So to me, it boils it down to Becky Lynch Belair and, of course, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. I am not a huge fan of the whole Becky Lynch and Belair rivalry. So my vote is going to Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins because I'm looking at it like this. When you say rivalry, I am going to visually remember that busted pec in Hell in a Cell and that effort. I'm going to remember his first match. That was amazing return. I'm going to remember him outsmarting him at Money in the Bank or whatever it was, Extreme Rules, because it was, again, storytelling. I'm going to forget Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair in certain parts. Like there are highlights and checkpoints across the board. But for me, I'm thinking about 10 years down the line. I'm going to say Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes is a rivalry that I will remember probably the rest of my life. And that's why they get my golden knocker.
Yeah, no, they're going to get mine as well. But for kind of different reasons. Obviously, like the positives of Cody and Seth, but you kind of did. I think it's fair that you're dismissing CM Punk and MJF. But I'll just say this. It was already that good, even without the amazing payoff that we were stolen from, is why I think it's still 2 for me. Like, that's why, like you said, if we got what we should have got without little bitch boy going on his little rant, like we would have got the rivalry of the year. It would have beat this amazing Cody Seth rivalry, which you just spelled out for us, which was a historic rivalry. So for me, the fact that it was still that good, like that is a 2 for me. Becky Belair, I think, is a fair 3. But yeah, number 1, that's what we're here for. We're here to give out awards, Nestlemania, not talk about the runners up. And it was Cody Seth, because like you said, that torn pack is a visual I'll never forget. I already gave my moment of the year to Cody's return. That'll be a moment I never forget. And it was special. They found a way to, Cody literally came back and pretty much only feuded and wrestled with Seth for the 3 months he was before he was gone. Yeah. And it was still the best thing on TV every single week. To me, that is because of the story and the rivalry that these two put together was historic. So they get my knocker as well for 2022 Rivalry of the Year. Michael P. Downing.
Male Superstar of the Year: Bobby Lashley, Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins.
So now we're getting into our individual awards, Nestlemania. We gave out the team awards already, but now it's time for the individual highlights of the year in the positive, because, you know, the Shine has the most nominees, as it should, because we're wrestling fans. We love wrestling. We want to, you know, really salute the greatness of wrestling. So we're going to start with the males here. And you heard the 4 nominees there, and it's a pretty good list this year. I'm going to run through them quickly here. Lashley was a guy that we were all worried about post-hurt business. If he could ever get back to the level of being that top dominant guy, I think he did in 2022. Is he going to get my male superstar of the year knocker? Absolutely not. He's clearly 4 and he's well behind the others, but I think this kind of shows that Bobby Lashley, like, he didn't like peak at that point. He's still really good and he's going to be here as long as he wants to be. The other 3, I think, is much closer. You kind of like hinted at it in the last category that Moxley kind of like, you know, this guy was ready to go on vacation, all this and that, if you believe everything you read, but he stepped up for the company. He came in, he won the championship a billion times, but he was the guy every week. He was working long matches. He was taking a beating. He was showing up for the company and representing the company. So by far, he had to be the top AEW guy for 2022. So he deserves to be in here. But for me, it was a 2-horse race. It is 2 former members of the Shield. It is Roman Reigns, the most dominant one of the most dominant champions in our history, if not the most dominant. You can decide that at another day. Or Seth Rollins, who he got a championship late in 2022, but even if he never got that US title run, the year that he put together to starting off with the Cody stuff, kind of being like the B guy in that feud because it was all about Cody, but like being so important that he elevated himself in that feud as well. And then taking that momentum when Cody got the tragic injury and carrying it for the entire year without a title and be a dominant force and an entertaining force in WWE. Man, this is a tough one, Nestlemania. This is a really, really tough one to pick.
I look at it this way. I tend to agree with you that Bobby Lashley had a great year. And I think that people need to remember Bobby Lashley has had some of the best matches, in my opinion, of 2022. He's had a lot of amazing moments, a lot of great pull apart, stuff like that. But we're looking at the superstar. We're looking at the fucking one, right? We're looking at one. Now, there are 3 members of the Shield that, again, all 3 of them had banger after banger after bangers. You know, obviously the joke can be made that Moxley couldn't, you know, wait 5 minutes to, you know, gig himself and bleed everywhere. That's beside the point. It doesn't really make you a superstar of the year, but that's beside the point. But I look at it this way. Moxley was a renaissance man this year. I felt like we got really some grungy stuff out of Mox, and I really appreciated what was going on here. He had some great matches with Daniel Bryan. He had some stuff going on with the BCC. He had the whole, like, just everything from top to bottom. He was just great. And again, like you said, plug and play. He did have some random head scratchers throughout the year that made me
he kind of gets to book his own opponent.
No,
so
I know, but it was just like, how does this guy get a fucking championship eliminator match? Whatever. It is what it is. So for me, I feel like it negates it sometimes on how much of a role he goes through. Like, if he had just fucking been the champ without these fucking start and stops, he would have been my superstar of the year. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Because, really? Even over the other 2 guys? Because here's why. I think he's still 3rd.
Right. So here's why I would say this.
Wow.
When you think of superstar of the year, we're going to have different definitions of it, and that's okay. But again, he's not getting my knocker. But I think Moxley, if he wasn't so yuck, blood, fucking random people, I would have voted for him. But I didn't, because he's Moxley sometimes. Like, he does these weird Moxley things. But he is the superstar of AEW. There's no denying that. He is a wonderful superstar. But again, it is a 2-horse race. When I look at Seth Rollins and I look at Roman Reigns, JC, I think of this. I say, there was one guy that was there all the time. There was one guy that wasn't there all the time. Mm-hmm. But when Roman Reigns was there, he was a superstar. Every single time.
Not the
superstar.
Yes.
And even Rollins said in his interview with your boy, Hawani, I feel like a Macho Man to his Hulk Hogan. I'm not the guy. So if I want to give Seth Rollins this knocker so badly, I really do, because I think this was his year, his banner year. But when we're talking about who's on the top, who's on the poster, who's the guy that moves the needle the most, pun intended, I have to give the superstar of the year to the one and only, the tribal cuck, the head of the table, right? Roman Reigns. He is my superstar. He is the one. He carries not just the weight of 2 championships. He carries 6 people with him and elevates all of them and everybody that interacts with them. Seth Rollins did elevate a lot of people this year. He did. But I don't think he has the pressure that Roman Reigns does. So Roman Reigns, the one, gets my superstar, male superstar of the year.
You put that eloquently, honestly, because when I got to this category, I wanted to put the check mark next to Seth Rollins so bad for all the reasons you gave. He is deserving. But I was like, man, I don't care if Roman shows up once a month, because when he does, he is the thing. He is the thing in wrestling. When he was there, he was the thing. He came back. Name me a bad Roman match from this year. We had to, like always, we had like 15 matches of the year we had to narrow down. Every single Roman match was pretty much on that list. I don't remember if any of them actually made the top 4, because I think this happened last year too. They kind of all cancel each other out, because when you're trying to like put a list of categories, you want to have a little variety. So when you have one guy who has a very consistent stud match, sometimes they all kind of just get blended together. So, but I think it says something where it was like, you can't look back at any moment from this year and be like, wow, that was a bad moment from Roman. It wasn't. It was the moment. And as great as Seth was, like, no matter how good of a year he could have had, he couldn't do what Roman did. This was Roman's year in 2022. Seth, better luck next year, buddy. But Roman's getting a pair of knockers because, much like earlier, they're not just the ones, they're also the twos. So you know what? Michael P. Downing, give me some female superstars.
Female Superstar of the Year: Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Liv Morgan, Mandy Rose.
Nestlemania, always in the shine. You know, that's why we have a category highlighting not just the 4 men. We're going to get to the tag teams after this, but the 4 best women in wrestling, in our opinion, in 2022. And the list this year is very strong because it's kind of highlighted by some dominant champions. You know, Mandy, historic reign in NXT. Bianca, just an incredible reign on the main roster. Jade Cargill, an undefeated reign in AEW with their TBS title. And then Liv Morgan, kind of the one that doesn't fit the mold of those two, but someone that kind of like stepped up in a year where you notice there's not a Charlotte on this list, because she missed a lot of time. There's not a Sasha on this list because she missed a lot of time. There's not a Becky on this list because she missed a lot of time as well, where we're kind of looking, especially in WWE, who was going to step up and kind of take their game to the next level. Liv Morgan cashed in literally on some moments, she was already a fan favorite, but kind of elevated herself where she proved like she can hang with the best. So she definitely deserved to be the 4th person in this category. I say the 4th person because sadly, I'm going to put her 4th on this list because the other 3 I thought with their reigns and their dominance like had to be above it, but I'm glad Liv snuck in here and she had an opportunity in 2022 to show that she belonged, because we followed her career since the beginning. It's been awesome. For me though, this is a 2-horse race. Like, Jade's amazing. You know, I love Jade Cargill. She's a stud in AEW. Absolutely love everything she does. She has feuds with Bow Wow. She never loses. Every time she's on TV, she makes an impression because she's great on the promo. The in-ring stuff still needs a little bit more, you know, seasoning, but we'll get there. But she definitely is a deserving person to be on this list. But for me, it's Bianca and Mandy. You know, I thought these two had such incredible reigns. Obviously, Mandy's ended a couple weeks ago, shockingly to everyone. And she's actually, you know, all that, you know, as we're not going to talk about it here, but there's a lot that has happened since that reign ended. But Bianca has been a consistent part of the main roster. She's kind of been the face of Raw when they haven't really had a male champion. She stepped up and she's elevated her game, whether it was to being on College Game Day or walking runways or doing all these things. Like, she became that next level superstar in 2022. So Nestlemania, I'm curious who you got for your female superstar of 2022.
It's tough. And I'm gonna get a lot of hate on this because I don't think Liv Morgan should be on this list. I really don't. I don't know what you guys are saying.
Who would you put instead?
I don't think that's hard.
Because you know, number 5 is Ronda Rousey. You want Ronda Rousey on this list?
Ronda Rousey's on this list?
No, I said she would be number 5. Number 5. Who would you put on this list?
I think it wasn't a banner year for anybody, to be honest. I mean, the 3 women really are the races to me.
So who's your number 4? It's Liv Morgan. That's why she's on the list. We do 4 nominees, boss.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying what I see here.
No, you're just a hater. You're just a hater.
I'm not a hater.
You're looking for opportunities to hate.
She is what she is. Stud. Period. Stud. She's a stud. Yeah, sure. I'll give her stud, but she's not superstar of the year. No way.
No, that's why I said she was 4th. I thought she was 4th.
Okay, that's fine. So we break it down here for Belair, Jade, and Mandy Rose. Now, we know that you have a bias, clearly.
Do I? Bianca's one of my favorite wrestlers, too, as is Jade. All 4 of these women are 4 of my favorites.
So I look at it this way. Bianca Belair is a superstar, as you said, superstar. Jade, superstar. Mandy Rose had a historical year with that running knee.
But the best running knee in wrestling.
Well, yes, if you ask Omega, he'll say the same thing. However, I look at it this way, and you're gonna be mad at me for this, and we might get into a heated debate later on.
I'm always mad at you. You're a moron.
I thank you. And so I thought to myself, and fuck you, by the way. I thought to myself, hey, she's on NXT. Not many people are watching NXT, excuse me. So it's hard for me to think that on a worldwide audience, everybody's really enjoying the superstar that is Mandy Rose. So then I will now say it's either Belair or Jade. That's where I whittle it down in my mind. I am going to go for the upset here. I am picking Jade Cargill as my superstar of the year. Yep.
So here's the thing with your logic, Nestlemania. If you're going by the logic about how many people are watching it, AEW should get no awards from you because their ratings don't even come close to Raw or SmackDown. Never mind, I love Jade.
She's a star.
She's mostly on fucking Rampage, which does worse ratings than NXT. Mandy's a star too.
She's a star.
Mandy's a star too. They're all stars. They're all stars. That's why they're on the list.
Now.
God, you could have. There's a lot of good arguments to make here. But your argument of
none of them were coming out of my mouth, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was a piss poor approach to it. So,
I think it's a great approach. Again, it's my prerogative, my show. I'll do what I want.
I know, and it's also I'm on.
That's
the show
why you
too.
get your prerogative.
I can tell you you're a fucking moron. Well, I will say
How am I a moron if she's in the category?
TJ is going to be mad at me because
how am I a moron? You put her in the category. Therefore, she is available for my vote. If she
your reasoning is why you're a moron. It's your reasoning.
I'm saying then she deserves to be one if she's in the category.
Trash.
You're trash.
Your reasoning is trash. You're a trash. God, there's dust.
Pick your fucking female.
So this one was a tie with the staff. I voted for Bianca, but I'm giving my award to Mandy Rose because fuck you, Nestlemania. Both women are deserving. I wish I could split it, the knocker in two, and give it to Bianca and Mandy, but I'm just going to give the whole thing to Mandy because she'll forever be in the shine, always in the shine, and your argument sucked. So that's what I'm going to do. Michael, give me some tag teams, playa.
Tag Team of the Year. The Acclaimed. FTR. RK Bro. The Usos.
Nestlemania, we don't always get along, but you'll see there's two of us. There's two of us. Yeah, I know. You just heard the last category and kind of whatever.
Do we ever get along?
We're still a tag team, baby. We're the Jobber Knocker tag team. So it is what it is. So this Tag Team of the Year award, we're a tag team. We might not win it, but we're a tag team. We exist.
Hold on. Can I before we get into the category, can I ask you, okay, in the Acclaimed, who are we? Am I Bowens or are you Max Caster or vice versa?
I would say I'm probably Max Caster because I'm a loudmouth and you're definitely be the better wrestler, which I think Bowens is.
Okay, but in FTR, who would I be?
Ooh, that's a tough one because it's tough because they're both very similar.
Yeah.
But man, that is a tough one.
I think I would be Dax only because he is such a smash mouth kind of a-hole. That's me.
Yeah, I think the way that he Axel Cash, I think Cash is too laid back for both of us. I think we're both Dax, honestly. Because Cash is just too cool and laid back, and we're both too kind of over the top, kind of like Dax and
I still think
we're both kind of trolly, and Dax is kind of trolly.
I still think that we're both Jey Uso, but that's actually no. I'd be Jey Uso, and you'd probably be Jimmy because that's just how it is. Everybody loves you. Jimmy. You'd have handshakes with everybody.
No. Here's the thing. Here's the thing why I can tell you why I'm not Jimmy. Because Jimmy was in a hotel room with Mandy Rose and just a towel and did nothing about it. I would have done something about it, my friends. So, by the way, WWE put that on TV. That
was good stuff.
But yeah, we're in Tag Team of the Year, Nestlemania. The Acclaimed, FTR, RK Bro, and the Usos. Obviously, this was a great year for tag team wrestling, whether you like to admit it or not. TJ brought his list a couple weeks ago, and I love that. So good job on TJ. Fuck you, Nestle. Also, shout out TJ for helping us with the knockers here because he does a great job every year of helping us get the list of the nominees together because it can be quite the load. But for me, when I look at this, Nestlemania, everybody loves the Acclaimed, especially me. I fucking love FTR. So does everyone else. The Usos are fucking dominant, studly, amazing. And RK Bro had such an incredible run that sadly was cut short. So they're definitely number 4. But the highs of RK Bro were some of the highest highs in wrestling of the last couple of years. So I'm glad that they still survived the cut, so to speak here. But Nestlemania, for me, this is a 3-horse race. And I could not blame anyone for picking any of the other 3 teams.
I look at this like I tend to agree. RK Bro is my number 4 pick. There are 3 that you could tell me that are wonderful. You know, you look at the Acclaimed, the homegrown talent, starting from dark all the way to becoming, you know, that whole thing. And they were on TV. You looked forward to Max Caster every single week. Then the scissoring thing took off with Bowens, and then Daddy Ass. It just kept piling up like a big tsunami coming through. And I think in August, we finally realized, okay, these guys have arrived. And it's, you know, no pun intended, they have become a big deal. The first half of their year, however, it felt like they were, you know, kind of not where they needed to be. So for me,
they were around, but they weren't on top.
They weren't the tag team, right? So I look at that aspect as like, they are my 3rd. If they had a better first half of the year, I would give them my tag. Right now, hottest tag team on the planet. No doubt about it. But right now, I have to think about the whole year. I'm going to put them at 3. And I want them to be my number 1, but they're my number 3. So it is a 2-horse race now with the Usos and your boys, FTR. Now, we saw that the tag team of the year was voted on in the magazine, obviously, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and they got the top 2. Correct.
Their year's a little different than our year. So
right, of course.
Yeah.
But I look at it this way. And this is the only thing that is going to be the only way I could tip in both, because to me, they're 1A and 1B. There's no wrong answer here. But the Usos have been a dominant tag team forever, right? And so have FTR for the most part. But in my forefront of my mind, the Usos are on my television every single week.
Your WWE bias. It's okay. I have it too.
No.
It's true.
Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Shut up and let me talk. Here's the kicker.
No.
Here's the kicker. If FTR is the tag team of the year, they did not hold the tag team titles in AEW. You
didn't have enough arms. They didn't have enough arms.
Doesn't matter. They didn't hold their championship, their home promotions championship. Therefore, they cannot be null and void. They are not tag team of the year. That means the Usos, thank you very much, get the golden knocker from Nestlemania. Don't try to fucking tell me differently.
Oh, Nestlemania.
Don't fucking try to tell
so
me.
here's the thing.
I got the New Japan. I got Ring of Honor. Go fuck off. Who cares?
Relax. First off,
AAA, who cares?
I'm just going to say that you just contradicted yourself again, because how could you give the award to Jade when she never held her company's top prize, but you gave her superstar?
She is a superstar. It's different. We're not saying who's the women's champion of the year. That's a different category. You're the champion. Is she in the champion? Oh, wait. She's one of the best champions,
Cutting you off. I, much like you, I really want to give my golden knocker to these things right here. I want to fucking scissor daddy ass all night long, baby, with the Acclaimed. But you're right. It is a year-long award. That's why they're called year-end awards, because the Acclaimed are the hottest thing right now in wrestling. They're up there. It's pretty damn close. If they're not number 1, they're top 3. But unfortunately, the scissors got to go. Had to make sure they let it on my bed. So I didn't
teddy
step
bear.
on them later.
What did you do that for?
I know. I killed the teddy bear. But it is a 2-horse race. Or a double horse race, a 4-horse race, since they're tag teams.
4 horsemen, if you will.
FTR and Usos. And man, it is tough, because these are, I think, the 2 best tag teams in the world. I think they've both had incredibly consistent and incredible years, whether in the ring, outside of the ring, whatever they're asked to do, any opportunity given, I think they exceed expectations. But I mean, man, when I look back at 2022, this was the year of the fucking bloodline, man. We the ones. It's the Usos. That's who I'm giving it to. It's close. And like I said, any of those top 3, I'd be fine with. But for me, the golden knocker's also going for the Usos. My logic is a lot better than yours, but we both got it the same result. So it's all good.
It's like a math equation. Doesn't matter how you show your work, as long as you get the right answer. Who cares?
Yeah, but that's only for the individual. The person with the better work, long term, will have much better math statistics.
Michael,
as a statistic guy, that's it. Championship me, Daddy Mike.
Best Champion: Jade Cargill, TBS; Mandy Rose, NXT Women's; Roman Reigns, Universal and WWE; the Usos, undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions.
You hear that, Nestlemania? Well, you don't actually hear it, because we don't want to get taken down off YouTube. But I hear Heart of a Champion by Nelly. Ain't no way they can stop. Absolutely great song. There it is, right there, baby. It is a great theme. And you know what? It's very fitting because it sounds like a champion song. And that's the category we in. You just heard the nominees from Michael. This is, I think, because every year, we always have this category. There's maybe one or two that it's like, yeah. But I'm looking at these nominees, man. I'm like, damn, we had some damn good champions this year. Not only like it's just the dominance of these champions. We had people that almost went calendar to calendar pretty much with their titles, almost exclusively. You know what? Fuck this one. This is the one that I got biased in. I'm giving it to my girl, Mandy, because I look at the amount of times they defended the title, and it isn't even close in terms of Mandy and her reign. I think she finished 100 days short of Asuka, and she only defended the championship one less time than her and throughout her reign. So she was a fighting champion. She was a working championship. She was on TV. She elevated a championship and a brand that were in the mud that people wanted to turn on. She had banner after banner with like unestablished women or women that we don't know or women that are greener than goose shit, and she still put on a show. She elevated 2 women with her in a tag team. She represented that championship. She unified championships. So pretty simple for me. She's my best champion of 2022. Roman, absolute stud. Usos, absolute stud. Jade, absolute stud. Dominant fucking champions. But I thought Mandy did more for her championship and was a better champion than all of them. So there's my award. Best champion of 2022, the Golden Knocker, always in the shine. It's going to Mandy Rose, baby.
And hopefully the only Golden Knocker Cheryl thing we'll see, and not on Mandy's, but it'll be all right if we do. Just saying. Anyway, on that note, you made a really interesting point about best champion. You made a point about Mandy, Roman, and the Usos all kind of holding multiple championships or combining championships. So I think that makes Jade fourth, in my opinion.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, I think that's another level to championship to me. Like it's a level up, right? And you look at it like this. Obviously, Mandy Rose took the UK championship and made it informed in that whole like kind of that run. The and you kind of forgot about it, because obviously it was, it was absorbed. It was, it was usually, don't look over here.
Braun.
Yeah, exactly. And Braun was a great champion too, but again, not to the level of these four.
This was a great year of championship runs. It really was.
There really are a great, I think if Braun didn't lose to Ziggler in that little, we would have said maybe Braun breaker, but I don't think that's the case. Mandy Rose was the NXT. That was it. She was NXT. Roman Reigns for me wins both championship and holds up kind of everything going on. When I think of champion, I think of someone who defends it a lot. So I think Roman Reigns is third. I really do. I think Roman Reigns is third because again, he's a cuck, as you've, eloquently put out on the Jobber Knocker.
It's branded. tpublic.com/JobberKnocker. Get yours today.
Exactly. What a great segue. But I will whittle it down to the Usos, who again, on my TV every single week, and then Mandy Rose on my TV every week. So for me, I look at it like, they're on my TV. They've done all these things. Check mark, check mark, check mark. But who am I going to remember? Who got there on their own, JC, versus who might have had a little help? The Usos technically have had help every single time. So are they the best champion? I don't think so. So there is only one. And Mandy gets a set. A humongous set of Golden Knockers because she is the best champion of the year, bar effing none. That's what I got to say about that.
Nestlemania, I've been proud of you a few times in my life, but this might be the moment. This might be the pinnacle of my proudness of you. And it's just like, I don't even know what to do. So Michael, brand me, baby. Just brand me.
Best brand: AEW Dynamite, NXT, Raw, SmackDown.
Nestlemania, we're now in the last category of the 2022 Knocker Awards, in the shine of the show, the biggest part of the show, the most elegant part of the show. And this one actually is about, well, I just said it, shows. There's 4 major shows on every week. We consider them major. AEW has one on Wednesdays. WWE goes Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, with their 2 main rosters being Monday and Friday, NXT on Tuesday. And, this is always an interesting one because I feel like NXT and AEW always get way more love because there's a lot less expectation for them. They're not like the supposed to be the pinnacle thing. But SmackDown's really had a good run the last couple of years, and the staff really likes SmackDown again this year. But for me, this one was pretty simple because this show did get a lot of shit because it transitioned at the end of last year. But when I think back of like, when do I have the most fun watching wrestling every week? And that's for me, like a lot of the times wrestling's supposed to be an escape Like we do it as a podcast, so sometimes it feels like a job, but we still do it because we enjoy it. It's an enjoyable job. You know, we do it for free for a reason. But so like Raw and SmackDown, like sometimes they can be slogs, especially Raw because it's 3 hours. And AEW this year I thought was so inconsistent. They really had the highs were the highest of highs.
He's dying over there. The highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I agree with you on that one, JC.
Riddle hit me with a little bit of his poof there.
I thought it was white snow you were going to talk about. That's fine.
Yeah, I hit me with a little bit of his white snow. There's something. God, I don't even know. I hope. Do you want?
I can handle the rest of this if you need to go get some water. It's okay.
No, I'm giving my golden knocker. I was getting to it. AEW high, low, lows, but the show that gave me the most joy all year was NXT 2.0. There's something about a developmental show where I see people kind of at the beginning of their journey, where I see them really take chances, where I see kind of like the next generation grow. That's something that's always been appealing to me, but it's also, I think NXT, they put such an emphasis on like lower level feuds, lower level stories, because they want you to know these characters. So every single segment I see on TV feels meaningful because I'm learning something. So for me, NXT already has an upper edge. And I thought this year it was the most joy that I had watching wrestling. So my golden knocker goes to NXT.
Wow. Surprising. When I look at this, JC, I think about it like this. To me, Raw's number 4. Number 4 on not just the 3 hours, just it felt like it was the shittiest show of the year. There were great parts, there were great Raws, but I felt like there's a lot going on here where it didn't make sense. Speaking of not making sense, number 4 was Raw, number 3 will be Dynamite only because the inconsistency as you stated, but also I feel like what I don't understand and again, you can tell me that I'm wrong and that's fine because I've heard it every moment of my life. If I'm tuning in for something, I need a reason to tune in. I don't need no random tag match, no random 6-person match, random singles match. What the fuck is a title eliminator when it's just not a tournament? Then there's 400 fucking tournaments in like 2 weeks. It just gets to a point where it just feels like they're doing the best they can, but somebody needs to teach them how to be big boys when it comes to putting on a really good show. So for me, they're 3rd. So whittle it down to NXT, which again, I have fun watching NXT. But SmackDown to me has been kind of filet mignon. It's prime rib. When I watch it, if I had to show somebody what a real show is.
You'd show them Rampage. I get it.
I would show them Rampage. Exactly. I'd show them Ring of Honor because it doesn't exist.
Oh.
So that's there. So no, that's fine. Show them the door. But no, beside the point, I would say this much. SmackDown to me gets my golden knocker because I think there are so many highlights from SmackDown. There have been so many great moments from SmackDown this year. Bray Wyatt's part of it. The Bloodline's part of it. The World Cup, even though the World Cup was kind of wonky, it felt like a lot more new people showed up on SmackDown after, the whole regime change. It just felt like more emphasis, more time went into SmackDown, and it wasn't disappointing. It was a lot more fun. I do think that NXT almost had it in my mind. There were weeks where I missed NXT. And I only read Joe's article, TJ or Dom's article. But that's hard for me. Like, and it's hard. It's like, to me, SmackDown was a can't miss.
Well,
NXT,
we talk about it every week. So
we have to. That's fair. But I will say
contractually obligated.
But I try to watch as much wrestling as I possibly can. So I would say that SmackDown was cannot miss and gets my golden knocker. So with that, the shine is over. Let's cleanse the palate. Michael, it is time to get hot. It is the heat.
Best heel, Christian Cage, Grayson Waller, MJF, Sammy Guevara.
A lot of people in life say, JC, that I'm a true life heel. What do you think?
I think that you have a lot of characteristics that would put you as a heel, yeah.
And I think that that's a very important, prerequisite when you think about what you're going to have as the best heel of 2022. We have amazing people left and right for different reasons, obviously. If you look at this, there's a lot of AEW best heels, which again, really drove the program of AEW. So I think they deserve a lot of credit here with a lot of great heels. Christian Cage, just on the promo work alone with Jungle Boy's mom, that was all-time stuff. Grayson Waller came out of nowhere last year, and now this year he's stepping into his own, and he's kind of becoming this big deal, right? For some people, but he's consistently a jerk. That is interesting to me. MJF, Hall of Fame heel. We understand that. But Then the last one was a head scratcher for me, but I understand why. Mini Miz, Sammy Guevara, because he married some chick that everybody boos. He clearly knows how to just get a reaction, the please go away heat. There's different aspects to all of this. So I'm curious, JC, when you're thinking of the best heel, I want to know what JC has for category or some type of prerequisite here for voting.
I absolutely love all 4 of these characters. These are 4 of my favorites. Obviously, Christian's an all-time one of my favorites. Grayson Waller, like, there was just a moment watching him when he kind of picked up on this new Dick character where I'm like, this kid's the fucking future of this company. Like, this is just like what he is doing is next level. And I think he has done nothing but elevate himself, including being the first ever Iron Survivor winner and kind of like preparing us for a feud with Braun Breaker, which it just like, it tells me that he's arrived. MJF, there's nothing to say about MJF. Like, we know what he is. I think you said it 2 years ago. It's like, he's going to be on this nominee list every single year unless he gets injured. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, he's always going to be there. And then Sammy is a much different case than the rest of them because this guy is just so fucking hated by people for a million different reasons. And then he marries one of the hottest chicks and they're just obnoxious together. And it's just like, but here's the thing about Sammy. He's so fucking good too. And when I really like look at heels, it's like embrace it. It's the reason why I always loved Corbin. It's the reason why I love Waller. It's the reason why I love MJF. It's the reason like when Christian goes all in, I love him. But Sammy's the same thing. He's like, you know what? People don't fucking like me. I'm going to embrace it and I'm just going to turn it up even more and be even more of it. And that's what I appreciate. I honestly would have him 3rd on my list here. Christian's going to be 4th just because the body of work wasn't there this year. Like he had incredible moments, like his turn. And then anytime he talked to Jungle Boy, A+ level work. And so he definitely deserves to be here. But like in terms of longevity, like the other 3 guys consistent across the board. But yeah, I put Sammy 3. So it comes down to MJF, who will probably always be up for this award, versus Grayson Waller. And the staff is pretty split on this too. This was a tie, but I'm going with my boy Grayson because I just look at him and like the work that he does is just like, maybe it's because he's the newest and I'm just used to it with MJF now that there's like a bar with MJF, and for him to like be named best heel for me, he has to go way above that bar. And even if he did, any bar that people had set for Grayson Waller, this guy is fucking hurdled like above, like to just even the little things throughout the year. Remember when he was like had Senga as his enforcer and he like faked an arm injury to get a tag title shot and all that shit? Like it's just little things he did. Every time he was on my TV, he found a way to be annoying. He made a talk show and he's innovative with the Instagram live where he's live on Instagram with a cam on himself as he's interviewing people. Every interaction he has, whether it's with an interviewer, whether it's with female talent that he's never going to wrestle, he's always just belittling people on Twitter. It's just going after Indy's mom and all these things. It's just like Grayson gets it. He gets what this new age of wrestling is, of like being a character 24/7. And he's always that character. And so for me, that gets him best heel of 2022 because consistently across the board, there wasn't one moment in time that Grayson didn't remind me how much of a dick he was.
I kind of saw that coming, to be honest with you. I really did. But I will say this much. When I look at this, Sammy Guevara is number 4 for me. And I only say that because he's interesting, but he's not on my TV all the time, so I have to be reminded how much of a dick he is.
He's always on TV.
No, it doesn't feel like
that
it.
Motherfucker's always around.
He doesn't move it for me like everybody else does. So I will say that much. I remember when Christian's on my TV. It's like Christian doesn't have consistency, but he's like the brightest star sometimes. You know what I mean?
And then Captain Charisma.
But it's just like, it's not like there's a consistency of whoa. So he's my number 3, Christian, right? So it boils down for MJF perennial and Grayson Waller. And as you were talking, you were kind of swaying me one way. And then I heard something else swayed me the other way. And all I could think about was MJF wasn't there for 3 months, right? Consistency, right?
It's true.
Wasn't there for 3 months. And it kind of felt like at some point when he came back, they were cheering him. So he's not so much a heel. So I am going to go out on a limb here, begrudgingly, and I'm going to give my golden knocker to a man I absolutely would love to punch in the face. So that Grayson Waller effect is in full effect here on the knocker, because now we have a set of golden knockers for Grayson Waller. And honestly, the one thing that scares the fuck out of me going forward is if MJF stays in AEW after 2024, I think Grayson Waller has the potential to lapse him, because the machine aspect of this.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And that's what scares the fuck out of me, because if MJF goes to WWE, fucking rocket. right? But if Grayson Waller gets there, there's no need because Grayson Waller could be the guy. He could be, and I don't like it, but you can see it.
That's how you know he's a good heel. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's undeniable. And that was the thing with me. Like, obviously, like us and me and my boy Dom, obviously Dom of the JK, check him out. Also does MJPW shows with Conway, also on our channel. We were like Team Grayson like immediately, and everyone else was so anti it. And like, I got it because by God, he was annoying. But like, just watching him, like, I was just like, oh man, this kid, when they fully let him go and start putting him in spots, like, it's just going to be next level. And I was seeing it in the ring, like, the style that he brings to the ring is so heelish too. Like with just these over athletic, like dick moves and all these things, like everything he does pisses you off. And it's just like, man, like he has the best aspects of the Miz, but he also has like Jericho aspects. He has a little bit of MJF. He has a little bit of Corbin. He literally, like, you can tell he just studies the game, where it's like taking a piece from every great heel he's ever seen. And I'm just like, dude, the ceiling on this kid is insane. So I'm glad we're on the same page because Grayson's a fucking stud, man. Get on board, everyone. Choo-choo!
Michael, please hit us with another category, please.
Most underutilized talent. AJ Styles, Hikaru Shida, Malachi Black, Miro.
Some people might say, JC, that I've got a lot of talent. That's some people. Some people might say I'm underutilized or overutilized. What do you think? But really what comes down to is we watch wrestling an awful lot and we say, hey, we like that guy or girl. Why aren't they on my TV, right? Why aren't they being used? And I think this is one of my favorite categories. Every year we do this because we really want to cheer or boo certain people. We want them on our television. We want to see them succeed in some fashion. And then sometimes we just get no explanation. And I think these four are very, 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 very kind of encompassing of everything we talk about here about underutilized talent. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go just right in my head. To me, I forgot Shida existed. That's upsetting. That's upsetting to me.
She's the best wrestler on the AEW Women's roster. Her and Hayter.
Hayter and her should be on my television every single week. That hurt my feelings. Shida was great, right? Then you look at Malachi Black. Now, Malachi Black, one of my favorites. Love him. But again, took a sabbatical, even though if it was short or not, I don't know. And I forgot. And the beginning of the House of Black really made me feel like he's underutilized, right? But then he comes back.
Too many stop and starts with him. A lot of stop and starts.
It's weird. It's like hot and cold. Yes or no? Up and down. Katy Perry, whatever. And then finally, we have two people that really should be on your TV every single moment of time. Miro, which we know JC loves very, 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 very much, and AJ Styles.
Crash!
Who also, AJ Styles, again, a guy you need to make room for on your TV. You need to give him real feuds here, not some just random podunk piece of shit stuff with the fucking, the ridiculous Judgment Day at the beginning, which was kind of all over the goddamn place, and hot and cold, not on a pay-per-view here and there. That to me is absurd, especially with his age. He's only got so many years left where he can really help people, and I think that's underutilized. But I am curious, JC, because all of these are different for different reasons. But there's one person, to me, that when I look at this list, I think to myself, they're just sitting at home. They're not doing anything. And that's a crime.
Yep.
That is an absolute crime. Billionaire Tony should wake up and smell the roses because my most underutilized talent this year is Miro.
Wake up and smell the match, goddammit!
He should be. Tony Khan should be stretched and put in an accolade and then talk to God about it for not using Miro. Fucking ridiculousness.
Something that's the case. You hit on a lot of things that I really agree with. That's why I love this category too, is that all four of these people are different reasons. Like AJ Styles, he might be on TV more than all these people, but it's just like, what has he done meaningful in 2022? Like the only cool things I think of with AJ Styles are anytime he interacted with Finn Balor, that was cool. But you hit on the big one for me with AJ and why he's going to get my Golden Knockers most underutilized. Spoiler alert, is that AJ Styles is a top tier, face of the franchise level talent, but it's also AJ Styles. We know he's kind of gone to a little bit part-time, which is part of it, but it's you should be maximizing his time left because he's on the back end. And we're talking about an all-time Hall of Fame great right here in AJ Styles that you're underutilizing. Like, he comes back, oh, he has a match here and there. I think the thing with Grayson was this year, that honestly might have been his high point when he went to NXT and feuded with Grayson Waller for those couple weeks. That might have been AJ's high point of 2022, which that was awesome. But for a level of a high point of AJ Styles, that should be a bullet point on his resume, not like looking back and being like, man, they did nothing with AJ this year. And so that's why he's going to get it from me. But Sheeta, you hit it exactly. She needs to be on TV. She's one of the best pure wrestlers they have. She's very well liked. She's amazing. Malachi Black, great, interesting talent. WWE had the same problem. They it's a cool thing for a week, and then they don't know what to do with it, and he falls apart. And Miro's my number 2 because, I mean, like you said, Miro's my guy. He's one of my favorite wrestlers in the world. He's sitting at home waiting for the phone call. He's cashing the checks, good for him. But by God, it's like all 4 of these people need to be on TV. But for me, I'm giving it to AJ Styles because he needs to be top of the card. Like you said, he needs to be on the premium live events. He needs to be in major, meaningful feuds because he is AJ fucking Styles. He doesn't need to be followed around by 2 idiots in a Mitchin or whatever the hell they call her now. It's Mitchin. Like, get the fuck out of here. Good picks by both of us, Nestlemania, in this one.
I agree. And there's a lot more negativity where that comes from. Michael, let's leap or jump to the Dolphin, please.
Leapt the Dolphin. What could have been? Austin Theory's Money in the Bank cash-in. CM Punk as AEW World Champion. Forbidden Door. Satnam Singh AEW debut.
Leapt the Dolphin.
Kind of sounds like a dog.
Leapt the Dolphin. That's what we're going to do here, folks. This is a coin phrase from JC because I said jump the shark, and now leapt the dolphin is a real thing for the jobber knocker. What could have been in 2022? Again, they whittled it down to 4. There's plenty of nonsense that have happened in 2022, but these are the 4 that I really got a hair across my ass. That's what I'm going to say, JC. When I look at these things, it bothers me, right? So Austin Theory's Money in the Bank cash-in, right? That one to me is an all-timer.
Yep.
That is an all-time flub. And somebody can say, well, we wanted to see what would happen. We wanted to see if somebody would bite, if the crowd would buy it, blah, 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 blah. Needed to get it off him because Roman Reigns isn't going to deal with this and yada, yada, yada. You can give me all that nonsense. I still say, poppycock. It's stupid. Then you look at CM Punk as a world champion.
Woo! Twice! Not once, but twice!
The fucking dingleberry jumps into the fucking crowd, breaks his goddamn foot. What a moron. Then he has to give up the championship, loses it in a fucking interim with Jon Moxley just to set up 2 weeks before their biggest effing pay-per-view. And then CM Punk gets it back and fucking screws the pooch in a press conference. All-timer. Gonna remember that forever.
Yep.
Forbidden Door.
Ain't remembering that one.
Not remembering that one. For a good reason. Everybody fucked that up. It felt like, you can tell me it was a monumental success. You can tell me that it did great numbers and yada, yada, yada. I'm not a stats guy. I'm a big picture guy, macro level. And that right there was a steaming pile of dunk. That's what it was. It just was. You can't tell me differently, folks. It could have gone so much cooler. Could have been so much better. And honestly, you just had so much negative come out of that. Adam Cole hasn't been the same since. You can see all these people who should have had matches and didn't have matches. People who are getting injured. That was like injure mania at that point. It was all over the goddamn place. That fucking hurt. Satnam Singh in the AEW got lights out. For me, I look at this and I go, this is number 4. I don't care about this.
This one I think is more of just a representation of that AEW goes to that device too much. I mean, they literally have a faction where every time they show up, it's the lights out. It's one of those things like in WWE, it was a Bray Wyatt thing mostly, but you do it every now and then for really cool things. Like AEW used it for Sting a couple times and that was cool. But especially in the first half of 2022, it feels like every single episode had fucking lights out. And one of them, the reason why this is on here was the pinnacle of them overusing it for this big fucking goon who just I'm sorry, but yeah.
He just isn't, to me, he's just not something I'm excited about. So for me, it's like, you know, it's not necessarily something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life.
It's 4 for me too, but I think
Yeah.
it definitely is something that's just like, what are you doing?
So you look at these all-time things, right? And you look at it and you go, what could have been? That's really what the cusp of this whole thing is what could have happened had it gone properly. Now, we talked about if CM Punk hadn't hurt himself twice, or, you know, I guess mentally and physically on both ends, then, you know, he could have had an all-time feud. That's what could have been. But we would think that was what it was supposed to be. There was a level of expectation with CM Punk for me. So I get very angry that Phil Brooks was an idiot, but for different reasons. That's going to be third for me. So it's either Forbidden Door or the cash-in. Now, on paper, Forbidden Door should be great too, right? You have NJP and, you know, AEW going against each other. Worlds collide, the whole thing. It's great. The Forbidden Door has been a joke for years since AEW has started. And it had a super card feel. It felt like it fell flat. What could have been? You could have had all these amazing matches. Versus Austin Theory, Money in the Bank, cash-in. What could have been the guy that has the momentum to just take away all that stuff from the tribal chief, give it back to the next generation. He's an all-timer. He's clearly the next generation's guy. You can see it. But for some reason, it didn't work out. But this would have been the matchstick to the lighting of the fuse, dynamite, no pun intended, for Austin Theory. Right? But here's my thought. Austin Theory is going to get more shots. So he's my number 2. My number 1, what could have been, could have gotten me excited, could have gotten me off my couch and given money to Tony Khan, but didn't, was Forbidden Door, because the concept itself is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. But they shanked it. They fucking put it into the woods. There is no way that this is going to be the only one they do. And let's see the second time around with less hurt people if it lives up to expectations. We will get a could have been later on next year, I assume. But that was the most disappointing for me.
So I agree with the stat I'm saying. We can just toss that out. But I think this is a 2-horse race, because you know what? I'm also going to throw out the Forbidden Door, because even if that pay-per-view had everything go right for it, I mean, I would have probably watched it. I wouldn't have paid for it. I was saying leading up, like, I'm not paying for this fucking thing. But it just, like, there could have been some cool stuff for sure. But I will say this. One of the matches of the year, one of my favorite matches of the year, was still on that pay-per-view with 2 fucking studs that we're going to talk about later in the show. So for me, what could have been, I don't know if it would have been better than what it was, but not like leaps and bounds better. Not leaping dolphins better like the other 2. For me, it's 2-horse race. It's CM Punk as the AEW World Champion and Theory's cash-in. I mean, that Theory's cash-in, we went on hard on it a couple times, and it just, like, it was bad, because whether he was going to just win the title or whether he's going to fail on Roman Reigns, either way, there was so much freaking meat on that bone, and they decided to go in a completely different direction, and it fell flat. But for me, that's number 2, because number 1, going back to something you said earlier in the show, not only by CM Punk's fucking dumbassness and antics, not only did it cost us an interesting CM Punk championship reign, it cost us the rivalry feud of the year, CM Punk MJF. But it also cost us a ton of CM Punk dream matches. Whether you like him or hate him, there were so many CM Punk dream matches we never fucking got, because this loser had to go up there and be an idiot and do stupid things, whether it was getting injured or running his mouth at a press conference. We got robbed of not just a reign. We got robbed of feuds, of rivalries, of stories, of moments, all because of him. And he did it to us fucking twice. So you know what, CM Punk, your shitty, what could have been run as AEW World Champion, not once but twice, you're getting my golden knocker for leaping the fucking dolphin this year, buddy.
You hear that? From best in the world to worst in the world, JC picks CM Punk. Michael, it is time to get motherfuckers off my TV.
Get him off my TV. Worst thing of 2022. Austin Theory's failed cash-in on the U.S. title. Ring of Honor all over AEW TV. Tony Khan, major announcements. Thunder Rosa's championship reign.
There's only one way to start this, JC. Get him off my TV, get him off my TV, get him off my TV. This is the worst thing in 2022. There's a lot here that was really just podunk pieces of shit, but this has been whittled down thanks to TJ and JC, what I like to call the TJC, into 4.
I do want to say before we get into it, so there was a point before the failed cash-in happened that this was 4 AEW things. It was because I remember TJ texted me. He's like, I'm looking at the nominees and the Get Him Off TV worst thing is all AEW. And it was, I believe, Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti were number 4 because of how much people fucking hated him. But that got the axe when we had a failed cash-in on a mid-card title. So yeah, Nestlemania, there's a lot of meat on this bone right here to talk about.
You want to talk about meat? There are so many things that really piss me off here, but I'm trying to think of like what is the quintessential 2022 fuck you moment of the year. When we look at this, we have Austin, obviously Theory, cashing in again. Big fucking fuck you to the fans. That made me really upset because I felt like it was one of the coolest devices, and I think this is a part that may have leapt the dolphin, no pun intended, from the last category. But then you get to Ring of Honor all over AEW TV, and even though Tony Khan swears up and down that there is only a little bit of limited time on Ring of Honor TV on AEW, go fuck yourself, Tony Khan. You're a fucking liar. Tony Khan's major announcements clearly...
There was once a week at one point this year.
At 1 week, it just
one of them
like,
was Ring of Honor.
It just feels like this guy wants praise. No fucking way. Every single time. Tony Khan should be the worst thing in general. That might be. So here it is. And finally, Thunder Rosa's championship reign, which again, whether she broke somebody's nose, hide it in the bathroom or hid in the bathroom or whatever you want to believe. Unfortunately, to me, I'm going to put Thunder Rosa at 4 because I didn't have high expectations for Thunder Rosa. Although big friend of the Knocker, love Thunder Rosa in general. The reign, to me, not the worst thing I've ever seen. The other
it was horrible.
To me, here's the thing. To me, the other 3 grind my gears.
They're all really bad.
They make me deal. Tony Khan's major announcements, number 3 for me, because again, here's the thing. Not the thing I'm going to remember the most. To me, there are 2 things in here, which are 1 and 2, I will remember for the rest of my godforsaken life, right? The cash-in, failed cash-in, which will still piss me off to this day, and AEW and Ring of Honor's relationship in general. Now, what bothers me is you learn from the lesson. Do you learn from the lesson? It is hard to tell with that cash-in if we've learned from the lesson. However, he did and still has at this particular juncture the United States Championship. So I guess he's won something. But my golden knocker goes to Ring of Honor all over my AEW TV because the fucking hypocrite going on promos and going on interviews saying it's not that bad. Go fuck yourself. Ring of Honor needs its own TV. It's behind a paywall that no one's going to pay for now, thank God, because it's still going to be advertised. You look at the go-home week for these Ring of Honor pay-per-views, and it's like graphic. Then there's 400 fucking matches. It's just everywhere. And here's the thing. They don't do a good enough job in AEW representing their own AEW champions. And then you parade it around a 6-man title. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Then you parade around a television title. Nobody, I'm sorry, Samoa Joe. Nobody gives a fuck about that. There's no television rules. The Pure Championship to me, great, but I don't care about it anymore. Yuta and Daniel Garcia, they're great, but I don't care about it. And then Claudio, fucking just the mess that Gresham and Claudio, and then Claudio to Jericho, Jericho back to Claudio. I don't care. Too much. Too fucking much. I tap out. And honestly, here's the detriment to it. It makes me not want to watch AEW.
There it is. So you swayed me, Nestlemania, because I honestly, I don't remember what I voted for, but what you swayed me pretty well, because honestly, I was leaning the Thunder Rosa thing because that was just such a drop ball. But when you said that, it kind of put in perspective to me. AEW has always treated the woman like a second-rate part of the show and like trash. So her championship reign was par for the course. But what made AEW special is like it was like the good stuff was really, really good. Having this Ring of Honor shit plastered all over it just really diluted everything and ruined, like you said, the show. I know people who stopped watching AEW this year because of it. It became miss instead of can't miss. And that was mainly because of all the Ring of Honor bullshit. The Tony Khan major announcements, they're fucking annoying. He's a fucking clown, putting himself on TV, teasing shit. But again, he's a promoter, whatever. It's annoying, but it's not the worst thing of 2022. So I think you were right, narrowing it down to the two you had. The Theory one fucking hurt me to the core, will always hurt me. I'm never going to forget it, but you swayed me with your argument because you're right. Ring of Honor all over AEW TV wasn't just annoying, it ruined the fucking show that was really good. That for the first couple years of its existence was almost unanimously the best brand. Like, it was just like, it's been really good. AEW has been really good. So yeah, that was a good argument by you. You swayed me probably for one of the first times in your life, and I'm pretty proud of you for that. But again, this is your fucking award, so I shouldn't be surprised. But yeah, and here's the other thing that you said. Now that it's behind a paywall and people have to pay for it, you think that's going to stop the promoter from putting it on his fucking show? No! Now he has even more of a reason to, because he wants you to fucking pay for this bullshit. He's got to advertise it somewhere, and guess where the free advertising is for him? On fucking Wednesday and Friday nights on Dynamite and Rampage. This shit ain't going to go in anywhere. I hope he dials it back a little, but we're still going to see 8,000 titles, 8,000 jobbers, and all this fucking nonsensical bullshit. So it's the worst thing of 2022, and it might be the worst thing of 2023.
It probably will continue for the rest of our lives. Anyway, we have now officially finished the heat category. You can all take a breath. I think it's time to cleanse the palate as we do on the program with some hopeful categories. Michael, can you lend those golden pipes and maybe be our only hope?
Newcomer of the Year: Logan Paul, Nikita Lyons, Roxanne Perez.
So Nestlemania, one of the most exciting things in wrestling is seeing new faces, whether it's period or maybe in new places. And that's what this category is. And I'll be honest, this is probably the weakest crop of newcomers we've had since we've been doing the knockers. This was a really tough one. As you heard from Michael there, there's only 3 nominees. All the categories have 4, I believe, except for this one only has 3 because there really wasn't a lot of new blood. Like, WWE brought back a ton of people they had fired, which is awesome, but they're not newcomers. AEW, as we know, they bring a lot of ex-talent, like WWE talent that are already established, so it doesn't really feel new because they're the same characters, just on different shows. So not really like that game-changing. And a lot of their prospects, they're too low level probably to crack an award like this, if you know what I mean. And that's not a slight. It's just, it is what it is. They don't have a developmental. So when you're looking at this, it's like Logan Paul obviously burst on the scene. He signed that big deal. He's here now. He had the great match at WrestleMania. He had a great match with Roman at Crown Jewel. You can't have much of a better debut year for someone who's already a major star and a part-timer than Logan Paul had. And he's probably going to get our awards here. But Nikita Lyons, she kind of came on at the end of last year, but kind of, we obviously know she's a fan favorite. I don't think she did shit. Honestly, I think this is a 2-person category. Just TJ said we should throw her in there, so I agreed because we had to fill this thing out. But yeah, Nikita Lyons, not even on the stratosphere. Roxanne Perez, she calls herself the Prodigy. She is a fucking prodigy. She's now your NXT Women's Champion. She's incredible. She's 21 years old. She's the future of women's wrestling. People saw that who watched Ring of Honor when she won that title when she was like 19 or whatever. People like Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo praised her, and then she's coming to WWE and been a workhorse since the get-go. We can all see the talent, but for me, this is an easy one, Nestlemania. It's Logan Paul because he goes at WrestleMania, has one of the best matches on the card, and then he fights for the fucking World Championship later against Roman Reigns and has a banger of a match. So for me, it's an easy one. Logan Paul, Newcomer of the Year.
I tend to agree with you. Nikita Lyons, dangerous curves ahead, but not necessarily in the match department. And of course, that whole fucking, if she had nunchucks, I'd be fucking into it too, but that's the whole other point. Roxanne, I don't necessarily look at so here's the thing. She's a newcomer to WWE, but I don't necessarily think she's a newcomer overall because I've been watching her stuff. So I agree with you. Logan Paul gets my Golden Knocker Award because he's had 3 fucking matches, period. And they've all been monumental matches. Like, you can tell me that everybody else in developmental will have, matches they forget, but Logan Paul is a fucking spectacle. And they struck gold with this kid. They really did. And I think he's going to have a high ceiling going forward if his wheel heals properly. But again, my Golden Knocker goes to the one and only, the prime, if you will, because he's got a drink name power. But Logan Paul gets mine.
Downing, give us a little more hope, baby.
Best Repackage: Butch, Dom Mysterio, Gunther, J.D. McDonough.
JC, my mom used to tell me that good things come in small packages. Now, I don't know if that was to make me feel better about myself or not, but that's beside the point. But she never said anything about repackaging. I've been told a lot of things about my package, mostly that I'm just a dick in a box. However, repackaging in WWE, NXT, or AEW is a bigger deal. So, I got to talk to you about repackaging. Is it just slapping a name on it? Is that all it is? Is it giving them new gear? Is it a new outlook? Is it changing a color? Maybe your hair?
It's everything, Nestlemania. It's everything.
So I look at these four and I think to myself, we've got Butch, Brawling Brutes, great trio. Fantastic. Don't really like the Butch, obviously, was going to set the fire, was what it was.
I like the Butch.
But Butch works for him, right? It works with what he's doing. It works for what he's doing with Sheamus. Dom Mysterio repackaging, of course, from flailing, stupid-looking, idiotic Mysterio babyface to chicken shit heel. Unfucking believable the fact the 180 turn this poor bastard did with Judgment Day. Unbelievable. Gunther, name change, Imperium, and that was basically just name change, right? That's all it was. Nothing really changed.
He completely changed his body.
That's fair. That's fair.
He had a physical transformation that was impressive.
Okay, impressive, of course. And then, of course, JD McDonough, who is the Irish ace. Obviously, HBK has a giant wooden Woody for this guy.
Me too, man. I love this guy.
It's like Rockstar Spud. Every time I see him, I think Rockstar Spud. But I love the packaging of a character. This guy has a character with the breaking of the bones, tearing of meniscus, looking at the skeleton, the whole thing.
There's a fucking weirdo.
There's a creep factor to him. And again, was better than what he was because he was just kind of like this great mini Finn Balor in NXT UK, because he was trained by Balor. So it's hard. All of these are different for different reasons. But when I look at this, JC, I think JD McDonough, although creep factor, not necessarily something that I'm super excited about. Wouldn't say it's the best repackage. When I look at Gunther, transformation, right? Fantastic transformation, but it was really just a name for me. I look more on the name. So I'm going to put them at 4 and 3. So to me, it comes down to Butch and Mysterio, because I think Butch, although a name, did do a lot more with the character, with him, with his clothing, with the Tasmanian devil, like, where the fuck did he go kind of mentality at the beginning of it. And he really kind of committed to the character. I think he did a better job than JD McDonough has at this point. But again, JD McDonough hasn't been here all year, I don't believe. I think Butch has been here longer. And I think there was more of a shock factor because Butch was like the first person where they changed something.
Butch was a Vince change. JD might have been too, but it happened in a different spear, so to speak.
Yeah, it feels like JD McDonough fits. Butch was more of a travesty in some way, but he turned it into such a positive. But my golden knocker, JC, goes to a man now. He was a boy. Now
he still has a mommy, but he's got a man.
Mommy. He is a man. He gets my golden knocker. I should probably give it to Rhea Ripley because she made a man out of him, Beauty and the Beast style. And it is going to Dominic Mysterio because this motherfucker went from something I didn't want on my TV, somebody that was flailing, sinking to the bottom of the ocean, Titanic style, to becoming one of the best things on TV with a group that got just reinvigorated with this kid. He's not the centerpiece, but he is a very important piece of this puzzle. And going forward, to me, that is repackaging. He
might be the centerpiece, honestly. He might be. It feels like Finn's kind of stepped up as the leader, but I feel like Dom is the thing that makes this thing go, so.
Mommy, I can't see.
It's just you honestly hit a lot of it on the head. For me, I loved all 4 of these changes because I think it made all of them better. I always loved Pete Dunne. But Butch showed me what I needed to see to know that he was a main roster superstar and had what it takes, because he was willing to evolve and embrace something that wasn't always him. Because I got to shout out our boy Cap here. He was never a big fan of Pete Dunne because he didn't fucking believe it. Because, he's a bit of a size shamer, much like yourself. Pete Dunne's not biggest. He's supposed to believe that he's just going to bruise everyone. No. So what Butch is more of a psychotic, anger, fury. And that makes, I think, more believable to fit his appearance. So I really do think that was a good transformation. JD McDonough, he kind of took a lot of the things that Jordan Devlin kind of did well and enhanced it and made it more of a bigger, more successful style. So that was good. Gunther, like you said, it was mainly the name, but I thought the way he transformed his body and changed himself to being a WWE main roster wrestler as opposed to an NXT UK territorial wrestler. So those were all good, but you hit the nail on the head. This is Dom Mysterio's award this year in 2022. This kid, like you said, was becoming borderline just being what the fuck, dude? And we're it was one of those things, we knew it too. We're we've said it a million times, just turn this kid heel. Until he's a heel, it's just it's not going to be interesting. They did it. They did it better than I ever could have dreamed of. So Dom Mysterio, you get my knocker as well.
All right, we're done with the hope, JC. Michael, it's time to make a comeback, motherfucker.
Comeback of the year. Bray Wyatt, Cody Rhodes, Ronda Rousey, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Don't call it a comeback. They were here for years, and then they weren't. Nestlemania, we had quite the comebacks in 2022. We also had quite the comebacks in 2021, but I think 2022 might have done it even better because it's all WWE, baby. But we had 4 pretty big ones, as you heard right there. I'm going to throw out Ronda Rousey right away. Ronda Rousey's a big fucking deal whenever she's around, but to the wrestling fan, she's clearly number 4 in this category. Then we have 2 that were similar. They were similar but different in Bray Wyatt and Cody Rhodes, 2 of the big ones. Cody obviously left completely, went to the whole indie circuit, started a whole nother company, came back, has this amazing story, which is still yet to fully play out. Bray Wyatt kind of, lost his job, went through some dark times personally, kind of rediscovered himself and has come back and kind of, trying to recreate himself like he always does. So both those are amazing. Spoiler alert, those are my 1 and 2. But Stone Cold Steve Austin fucking came back WrestleMania and wrestled 2 fucking times at WrestleMania in awesome moments, which for a lot of people, it kind of hit them right in that nostalgia spot where just that 1 night or 2 nights, whatever the fuck it was alone, kind of makes up for an entire year in terms of a comeback. So I think any of those are great picks, but for me, it came back to Bray and Cody.
It's interesting when I had something in my head when we started this category.
Ooh.
And then you kind of swayed me differently. Like, I think you said these are my 1 and 2, but I thought your common denominator was different, but it's okay. I agree. Ronda Rousey, get the fuck out of here. In my opinion, not a great comeback. She did good, but not great. So then I get to the 3 that you have talked about. I look at this, I'm going to use your own words against you, and because you make fun of me. Bray Wyatt, amazing return, but hasn't really done anything. So I think he's my 3rd, in my opinion, right?
Wow, that surprises me a little bit.
I'm going to tell you.
I know with your yeah.
So and then I think about Cody Rhodes, the comeback story, right? And you made a great point. You said he hasn't fully committed the comeback.
It's true.
So I am going to give my golden knocker to a man that was gone for like 19 years. That is the quintessential comeback, right? Like, could he fucking do it? Is he going to embarrass himself? Oh my God, I'm watching with my hands over my face. Is he going to hurt himself? He's got a bad neck, a bad knee or 2. And then of course, KO just fucking goes ass over tea kettle for the poor bastard, just does everything he possibly can. He main events a WrestleMania, which is unheard of in terms of not being around for that long. So for me, just based on the fact that this guy main evented WrestleMania after WrestleMania and then has been gone and then came back and had this awesome, fun time. And we cringed every time he took a bump.
He did.
To me, that's a roller coaster ride. Steve Austin, Stone Cold gets my comeback because there is no better comeback in the year, in my opinion, than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It's a damn good one. But for me, sometimes when I look back in wrestling, for the reason why I put Cody and Bray 1 and 2 for me is like, I'm just thinking about at that time, seeing that, like feeling that. It was like when the CM Punk the year before, like the emotion you felt and how many times I went back and watched it. I went back and rewatched Cody Rhodes, Bray Wyatt, and Steve Austin's The Returns tons of times. I rewatched the Cody one about 50,000 more times than the other 2 combined. But that's just because I really have always liked Cody Rhodes. And that was, to me, again, we talked about this earlier in the show. You saw my emotion in the time. So for me, that is my winner. The staff also was very split like us. Cody and Stone Cold tied with 1 vote out there for Bray. But yeah, no, I think the thing that definitely does take away for Bray is that as much as like Cody's story feels unfinished, he at least like completed that comeback by being there and started to have programs. Bray literally has just come back and just kind of been there. So we're still so early in the infancy that is why I give it over Cody. And the Stone Cold thing was, like I said, right in the nostalgia spots. You got 2 nights of it because you had the Vince and Theory stuff. It just like, it was incredible. And it was honestly amazing. Any other year, it'd probably get my knocker as well. But I think just like 2022 was the year of the comebacks. Everyone had that Infinity Gauntlet, which a lot of people are now calling the Mid-Finity Gauntlet because a lot of those people that Triple H brought back have been disappointing, which, I mean, what do you expect? A lot of the people they let go were people they felt they could have let go. So you bring them back, and it's just like, yeah, they were never meant to be like, oh, this guy's the face of the franchise. The 2 big ones were Bray and Braun. Both came back this year. Braun in on this list because, I feel like Bray's just a larger than life character. That's why he makes on it. And I mean, Braun, does Braun things.
You didn't give your comeback of the year to Karrion Kross? He's on
Karrion Kross,
Guthrie.
Hit Row,
I'm gonna get a barking from Guthrie for not putting him on the list that I had nothing to do with.
Dude, he is the center of the Midfinity Gauntlet. But we're talking about comebacks here. We're not talking about fucking Karrion, whatever. Scarlett was a bigger comeback than him. Let's be honest. You know,
emphasis on the first part of that.
But yeah, I'm giving mine to Cody Rhodes, but I don't fault you for picking Stone Cold. This was a year of comebacks, and yeah, it was good. But Nestlemania, at some point, we do have to finish the show. We have 2 categories left. So let's go to the big old finish, Michael.
Match of the year. FTR versus the Briscoes, ROH Supercard. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, WWE Hell in a Cell. Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay's, AEW Forbidden Door. Gunther versus Sheamus, WWE Clash at the Castle.
Nestlemania, the main events of the Jobber Knocker podcast. You know, match of the year is usually a main event because it is wrestling and matches are where most of the action happens. But for us, our next category is actually our true main event based off our name. But that's what the big old finish is. It's wrapping it up. And Nestlemania, like I just said, wrestling's all about matches. And we had some damn good ones this year. TJ and I had a long list like we always do. A little behind the scenes, what we do is we give the list to the staff and we have people pick 4 matches each. And then the 4 that get the most votes are the nominees. So if your favorite match isn't on this list, that's because there was a lot of good matches this year. And a lot of the things are razor thin. People have different tastes, but these are the 4 that got the most votes. So they're on the list. And honestly, if it's crazy because I think this happened last year too. If I had to narrow it down to 4, these were the 4 that I narrowed it down to. So hashtag JC knows, motherfucker, as always. But yeah, this was a tough one. Man, I really loved Gunther Sheamus Clash of the Castle. It was an incredible match in terms of in-ring and singles in-ring matches. It might be my favorite, but this award to me isn't just about a pure wrestling in-ring match, which this was, and the crowd was an amazing part of it. But for me, I'm putting it 4. But again, if you argue this is your match of the year, all the power to you. My number 3, man, this is tough. I'm probably going to put my favorite tag team match of the year, and that was FTR and Briscoes. Not the most recent one, not the dog collar, the one at Ring of Honor Supercard. This match was it was a dream match that we had never seen. It was something they were doing. These 4 men gave their lives. They built a story coming into it, and the anticipation, it delivered more than that. So that was my number 3, but that leaves it to me to 2 of my favorite matches, probably of all time. Cody and Seth had a bunch of bangers, but that one at Hell in the Cell with the fucking peck. When Cody revealed that and all our jaws dropped, just the oozing of storytelling between these 2 men before, during, and after were just like the pinnacle of what WWE is all about and what a main event, top story, awesome thing was. And it was just a beautiful mix of pure wrestling, story, and drama. And Orange Cassidy, Will Ospreay, the one that I actually have at number 2, which is not going to win, was just the epitome of like surprising, but also so incredibly fun. And that's why we watch wrestling, right? It's to have fun. And these 2 men, not only did they tell a cool story, have some cool spots, but they delivered a banner of a match, but not good enough to beat Cody and Seth for me, because that's a match in a moment, like we talked about earlier, that I'm never going to forget forever. That visual of the peck and everything that came with it, the encapsulation of their feud. Cody went 3-0 on Seth, but it didn't fucking matter. Seth was bigger after that than he had ever been, despite losing. So to me, this is a great category. So many good matches. I loved all 4 of them, but Cody and Seth, you're getting my golden knocker.
It's hard to argue any of these. I mean, I agree. Gunther and Sheamus was something that I was waiting for a very long time. We got it at Clash of the Castle. It over-delivered in every aspect of the word. But again, it's fun. It's not over. It wasn't something that I will probably remember the rest of my life, but I'll remember, hey, that was a good match. That is my number 4. I do agree with you that FTR Briscoe is number 3. A great tag team match. Unbelievable. Best tag team match of the year, bar none. No debating that the wrestling tag team of the year should be the FTR. But they did not get the match of the year. We are down to Orange Cassidy, JC's favorite, and Will Ospreay, JC's favorite. And also Cody Rhodes, your favorite, and Seth Rollins, your favorite. So obviously it's hard to pick.
Seth Rollins is not my favorite, but he's really fucking good.
Here's the thing. I had expectations of Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins being as good as they were. I had no expectation whatsoever with Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy. They're not. No, don't worry about it. They're not getting my golden knocker. My golden knocker is going to Cody and Seth. But
that was a pretty good tease. You had me. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I
forbidden door.
Yeah, I know. Forbidden back door. No, I'm just kidding. So there's so much that you can get. You could talk me into it. But I've watched that segment, and again. Here's the thing. Right now, Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay will be in my mind for the foreseeable future. But that peck, the Hell in a Cell, the storytelling. We didn't even talk about the polka dot, baby.
Oh yeah.
Seth Rollins wearing the polka dots to fuck with him. Like, there's so many aspects to things going on, and then losing it to a one-armed man. Like, and then he got better after that. Like, it just, to me, it is the match of the year. It is the storytelling of the year. It is absolutely top to bottom a roller coaster. There was no lull in that match. Low, only smoke and mirrors. Whoa, there goes Cody Rhodes. Yep. So that's why we both gave a set of golden knockers to Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I'm sensing a theme. And finally, the final category. Michael, let's go to the main event.
What's up, jobbers?
Jobber of the Year. Danhausen. Maximum Male Models. Smart Mark Sterling. Serpentico.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally here, the moment we've all been waiting for, the absolute tip top of the Jobber Knocker, the Jobber of the Year. We love jobbers here. I do jobber alerts every single week on Twitter because I want people to know that jobbers are important. So we have 4 here. I'm going to need you on some of these, JC, because the last one I can't pronounce to save my life, but that's okay. Serpentine. So we're going to start Serpentine, Serpentico. So we'll go with Danhausen. How do you not love Danhausen, right? He's just there. He's very nice, very evil. Of course, Maximum Male Models, the antithesis of not winning. They are losers, but are lovable losers, perhaps. And then, of course, Smart Mark Sterling, who has been so many people's attorneys, I can't even count.
And he's willing to die for all their sins in the ring.
And he just eats a fucking foot and punch and just keeps on going with that neck brace. Jobber style. And, of course, Serpentico.
So here's the thing. I didn't want to put this in, but we only had 3 people in this category. So people were fighting for a 4th. And apparently, like, over there in AEW world in the dark, no one can fucking see it. But there's this fucking guy who wears a mask who's like, 80. I don't know. He's lost like a gajillion matches in a row. But it's all been in the dark. So no one's fucking seen it. Did it actually happen? I don't know. But he's on this list. But yeah, spoiler alert. He ain't my jobber of the year, baby. Because what has he been elevating if it's in the dark?
I've been crawling in the dark, looking for the answer. The answer
I
is
do a
not
lot of things
Serpentine.
in the dark. That doesn't mean I deserve an award for it.
Although you do a lot of jobs in the dark.
I wish I'd make a lot more money.
He'll have his OnlyFans out in 2023. Moving on. We
Definitely
got
make
left.
a lot more money. Yeah, so Nestlemania, we're looking at this, and this is a pretty good year because sometimes this category can be a struggle because like you get like the one-offs and you know, you get people that for a short time. But this year, I mean, Danhausen, like the minute I saw this guy and saw what he was capable of, I'm like, this guy's perfect. He is the antithesis, he is a representation of what this category is. Someone who makes everything better by his presence, but is so ridiculous and just like, he does the job. He is the true definition of a jobber in all the best ways. He's a great addition, and he is great at like as being like an opposite for people. We had the stuff with Hook earlier in the year. We have he's obviously always around the best friends. He comes out and matches all the time and fucks with shit. He does it to heels. He does it to baby faces. He does it to everyone. And no matter who it is with, it's entertaining television. This guy's great, whether he's eating chips or whatever. He's great. The Maximum Male Models, near and dear to our hearts. They're fun, man. Mansoor and Masay are fun. Maxine was a great addition. They do really cool stuff. You applied to be one. You got rejected because you're not good enough. Shocking. But
Wow,
you know,
are you calling me ugly?
I mean, do I have to
Well,
say
let's just put all our cards on the table. You think I'm an uggo?
I go, well, Tyler Breeze, if he was here, would be in this because he's the best. But yeah, I honestly, either of those would be
Way
great.
to dodge the question.
Yeah. Smart Mark Sterling. I'm glad that he made the cut for this because when I watch AEW TV and I look at it, I'm like, man, Danhausen does a lot of good for people on this roster, but smart Mark Sterling does the most, because it's something you always say about The Miz. He is willing to be the ass and make an ass out of himself. You say it about Jericho too, but this guy's next level. Like, the only thing he has to gain is to make you look fucking good. Whether he's a side piece as an attorney for Jade, or he's working with like MJF or whoever, or whether, yeah, he's trying to elevate that guy, but good luck, man. The freaking moon couldn't elevate him. But he just, no matter what he did, he involved himself, whether it's with the Acclaim. He's a jobber in every sense of the word. He wrestled, I think, a couple times, like as like a, just like a joke, but it's just like, to me, I think it's a 2-horse race. I'm giving it to Danhausen or Smart Mark. I'm curious.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So Serpentine's in and out, much like Serpentico. Like you said, if you can't see it, does it happen? If a match happens on Dark, does it happen? I don't know. I still go back to I want to know from the man that loves stats, Tony Khan, how many elevation matches equal a dark match? How many dark matches equal a debut on AEW matches? Where it is, I don't know. The percentages are ridiculous.
Just think about this, Nestlemania. How much we shit on Rampage. There are 2 other shows that are below Rampage, and one of them takes place in the dark. So.
Yes, and I tell you what, we don't watch it because it's not worth our time. Yeah, I only watch it if I see people I know.
That, and then if someone tells me like, oh, Anna Jay or Sky Blue are on Elevation, I gotta see how my girls are doing.
I can see why you want to do the job in the dark. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, moving on to what we were really talking about here, the main event. So Serpentico is out. Night to me. So I look at this. Danhausen, very evil, not very jobbery in my opinion. Only had a couple of matches in my opinion. So I'm looking at that aspect. Danhausen number 3 for me. Comes down to the maximum male models or Smart Mark Sterling. When I first saw Smart Mark Sterling, I thought to myself, great character, great addition for any side piece, like you said. However, again, I look at this as what a jobber is for me. And to me, I'm giving my golden knocker to jobbers of the year. I think the maximum male models, we had a ceiling, then it just got completely lowered. They got train wrecked by Hit Row, and now they're stuck on fucking like social media doing these amazing maximum male models things, which again, guys, I don't know if you looked at me up close. I'm a pretty man. I don't know why you wouldn't want me as part of maximum male models. Maxine, hello, darling. I think I'm better looking than Marseille. Just saying. That's just me. I might actually be better.
Maxine ain't looking at you, buddy.
Well, I'm not saying she's supposed to.
You might be looking at her, but she ain't looking at you.
Anyway, the 3 of them have been phenomenal. They've been great. They've been shrieking and like, don't hurt me, not in the face kind of stuff. Very Zoolander-y. And I think that there's a lot going on there. They have been, to me, kind of like the joke in a good way a lot of the times, where they've elevated other people, as well as the fact that they're trying to get over even if they're not on TV. And they're trying to get over and then elevate other people. So for me, I think they are the jobbers of the year because they just can't win. They can't fucking put up a W. They can't do anything. And honestly, they have been the most entertaining thing, I think, of the entire year when it comes to not winning. So there you go.
I find that not impressive. Mine, like I said, it's not a Danhausen, Smart Mark Sterling, because I think jobbing and being a jobber and being awesome goes more than just like in the ring. And I think honestly, Danhausen might have more matches this year than the maximum male models had, just because most of their stuff.
But did Danhausen come out in tennis wear? I don't think so.
He might have. That dude dresses up all the time. But for me, it's a tough one because Danhausen is a quintessential, like, just joy. Bringing joy to my television and adding such a fun dynamic to random things. Smart Mark Sterling's like the antithesis to that, where he just comes in and tries to ruin your fun on everything. But when he ruins my fun, he adds to it because he fucking is willing to die for it. And he is willing to sacrifice himself, whether it's for Hook, whether it's for the Acclaim, whether it's for some random jamoke, no matter what it is, Smart Mark Sterling is willing to take that bump figuratively and literally. So he is getting my 2022 Jobber of the Year. Smart Mark Sterling. You are smart, you are a mark, and your argument for this award was sterling. So you get my 2022 Golden Knocker for the Jobber of the Year. Nestlemania, we did it!
So glad it's over. It's a lot of work for us.
It's a lot of fun work, though.
I want to give a special shout out as we wrap up the show here. I want to give a special shout out to our boy TJ with JC. They did all the work here for nominees throughout the entire year. A lot of yeoman's work that was done for these guys. A lot of back and forth BCS style stuff as well. I want to thank everybody that listens to the Jobber Knocker, making Jobber Knocker 2022 a great year for us. We're definitely on video now, so that's an awesome addition to everything we do. And of course, I want to thank everybody that ever does anything for the Jobber Knocker. I'm going to forget everybody, but you know who you are, especially the boys in the chat. You guys have been awesome all year long. And all of our fans, everybody that supported us. We do this because we need a creative outlet, but it's a lot easier when we can interact with a lot of cool wrestling fans. So we do this for you as much as we do it for ourselves. And I think we're going to have a great 2023. JC, you have anything else before we get the fuck out of 2022?
Yeah, absolutely. This was a fun year as always. And like, I echo everything Nestle said. One other thing I want to say is that, you know, this award show has kind of evolved over the years based on whether it's feedback from other people or just us trying stuff. If you have any ideas about it ever, feel free to slide into any of our DMs and let us know whether it's maybe a different category that you think would be cool. Or it could be one of those things where like, maybe it's a cool category for this year, not next year. It's like nothing is set in stone like we do. We feel like we have a pretty good list now. It's representative of things we want to talk about, but we're always willing to add stuff or subtract stuff, or hell, tweet at us and give us who you think should win some of these awards. Or if Nessa was way wrong about something and I was right and you want to tell him that, like do that. But we appreciate any sort of like feedback or interaction, whether it's publicly or privately. That's what we're here for, man. We're here to have fun together as a community and continue to grow and learn from each other and, you know, put out the best damn product we can, because we're doing this for fun. We want you guys to have fun along with us. So shout out everyone. It was another fun year, and I think 2023 is going to be even better.
And on that note, folks, thank you for listening to this year's Jobber Knocker. We'll be back next year with more Jobber Knockery.
Always in the shine.